It was nothing for her to have 120, 140 passengers, all going to different landings, so it was quite a time. Everything had to be landed by dinghy. It was a terribly slow job. Every piece had to be handled, one man to another man, first from the boat into the dinghy, then from the dinghy onto the rocks ashore. It was a terrible slow process. Today it's so fast with the helicopter, it's a matter of minutes where it used to take days.
It's part of our life, every year it's an annual hikoi where our tupuna used to catch them, and the number that you catch is regulated by your ability to work. And if you want to work hard to make a few bob, do it, but you still have that underlying feeling of your rights and your heritage. And to me that's paramount. Yeah. I think if you lose sight of that, you've lost sight of the whole importance of the catching and taking of the titi, If you look at the transportation to the Muttonbird Islands, originally they'd go down the Big Waka, drop all the birders off at their respective landings. That progressed to sailing boats. Numerous boats took birders down for years out of Riverton and Bluff, Colac Bay and those places, Half Moon Bay. And then as the diesel engine came, fishermen were always involved. Rakiura, Kekano, Waterlily, Sail and that. Most of the fishermen in those days had Maori crew anyway. So I guess there was always a tendency there because they were crew that the owner and the skipper would take them down to their islands. And really that was the lifeline of the birders, of those fishermen. So the association between the fishermen and the birders has always been there. And more so if you were tangata whenua too. You'd look after your mates and they'd look after you.
It took weeks sometimes to get down there. The weather's so fickle, they went as far as they could while the weather was fine to get to wherever they were going. And they wouldn't go before consulting with a tohoka, or tohunga as they say. Tohoka was the way they say it here. He would tell them by the signs whether the weather was safe to travel or not. You had to find somewhere to stay the night, and there was no safer place than the river here to come into, because the little beaches and so forth that you could land on and draw your canoe ashore. It was a definite haven for travelling parties because it's got everything in here. There's flax to make baskets. There's kelp in which you can make poha. Totara trees where you can get the bark to sheathe the poha with.
There's certain parts of Lord's River that there was only one side of the river that they actually took the bark from the tree, so they obviously had some feeling towards the forest. And I understood too that they only took one strip off each tree. You didn't take the whole lot, you killed the tree. If you look at the Tutu Kaiweta forest, was taking care of itself through a covenant with the Crown and total protection in perpetuity, as if it was a national park, total protection of the forest. That was one of the reasons we went to the Crown and said, well, we want to mill this timber because they've never had any revenue off it ever. And the Crown decided, no, they don't want the trees cut down, we'll compensate you for protection of your forest, and that's virtually what happened. We will administer and look after it in perpetuity for the beneficiaries. That's our responsibility, and for that reason we do things exactly as per the direction of the Te Tura Whenua Maori Land Act. We're bound by statute to do that. The Lord's River land, because the campsites were getting in such a mess, we decided to put some of these self-contained 6-bunk huts. We have little pot-belly stoves in them, and they burn coal in them now, so you don't have to cut trees down, and it's just amazing how clean and tidy they are. It's working well. Tutai
Kaiweta is the Maori name of this place. It was named Tutai Kaiweta by a chief called Te Kaha, who was on the trail of a hated enemy, and this enemy was fleeing ahead of them. And along the trail you've got tikatatahi, which is one. They left signs everywhere. Tikatatahi means shit on the seashore. And then you come along here, they found signs here, Tutai Kaiweta, which means diminishing pieces of dung, Further up here, you've got Tutai Pawhati, which is a person pushing through the bush, would break a branch, you see, and it would hang down. Although it was still attached to the tree, it would hang down. That's a Pawhati. And it somehow got dung on it, Tutai Pawhati, And this was the trail they followed all the way until they got to Toi Toi, Toito means to trot, and the fleeing enemy must have trotted off into the sunshine, I think, or into the sunset, for the simple reason that that's where the trail ended, and I don't know what happened.
So we always thought when we were young, laughed about it because we thought, well, somebody must have stomach trouble or something all the way down, you know.
The history of those places where our ancestors lived for short times periodically through years, you know, generations before us, you know, the history was instilled in us as young boys, the respect and to be given the knowledge. That's quite special. I mean, there's places down there, I've experienced one place and it still makes the hair stand up the back of my neck. There's very, very few parts of New Zealand compare with Rakiura. It's certainly a lot bigger than what people believe when they step off the ferry. It's roughly 420,000 acres, 60 kilometres from north to south. It's about 40 kilometres at the widest part. It's pretty unique, the forest of the island, with all the variety of ferns and tree ferns and the podocarp forest and the rata carmi belt along the coast, and valleys full of supplejack, which is nearly impossible to get through. And of course the bird life is quite special here too. Stuart boasts the highest number of kiwi or tokaweka than any forest of New Zealand. Currently the Department of Conservation estimate that there could be 20,000 because of the fact that they're spread right over Rakiura and all the other species of birds. Growing up as a child, we were always taught to respect the natural history of the area, all the native birds and the titi especially, because that was part of our lifestyle to catch them every year. Just the general environment with the kaimoana and everything, we were taught not to abuse the resource and to just take what you needed. Our responsibility to the lands on the island is to enhance and highlight the opportunities that are there for the beneficiaries. The times are changing. You know, we really need to be proactive in just highlighting how important and special this place is, and the opportunities perhaps to develop some of the lands within the umbrella of the Trust. Probably the most important aspect is to make sure that we keep it special and unique for future generations to enjoy.
Tu mai mato ki te tautoko, ki te tautoko, ngā iwi e, tu hono hono tangata, te whanau Rakiura e. Tu mai mato, ki te tautoko, ki te tautoko, ngā iwi e, tu hono no tangata, te whanau Rakiura.